Hello lovely humans, welcome to this space on the internet. In this video, I want to discuss the phrase, love is love, which denotes presumed acceptance of the 2S LGBTQI+ or queer community and individuals within the community, and I want to talk about how it fails to accurately encapsulate queer people. Of course, this is my opinion based on my personal analysis and based only in the information available to me. I'm just putting these thoughts out here because it's something that I've thought for a very long time and I think it might be interesting to dissect. And also, if you want tea, like yummy tea, you can go to Daniel's Chai Bar where I have a discount code. I will put it on the screen right now. Oh. And I'll also put it in the description of the video, and I'll put a link to the website Daniel's Chai Bar, where you can buy tea, and we, space users, get, I think 15% commission off of all purchases that you make. Something like that, which is kind of fun if you want tea, and also to give me money. Like, double win there, if you like our content, so, and tea, of course. So head over there if that intrigues you. It is good tea. Also, look at my mushroom mug. Look at this thing. Isn't it literally the cutest thing ever? I love it so much. So the phrase love is love and its offspring rhetoric that queer people should be accepted because they have an equal capacity for love as we cis, hetero, allo individuals. This rhetoric is fairly commonplace in realms of queerness. I'm sure you've heard it before. Pretty sure you've probably heard it before. And I think I hear it most often from non-queer sources. I hear it most from allies, which is all fine and dandy. We love allies. However, I think that using the phrase love is love and the connotation that surrounds it doles out an opportunity for people to oversimplify, erase, or kind of ignore, whether intentional or not, aspects of the queer community. I don't know what this hand's doing. So I'm going to talk about a few different things to do with the phrase love is love. First, I want to discuss the implications of love is love for aromantic and asexual individuals or the aspec community. So the phrase love is love implies that all love or that love is the same. It exists as a way of creating commonality, right? Especially if we're talking about between allies and queer people. We experience love just how you experience love. It's just a different people, but we're gonna focus on the commonality between us. Our love is the same because we both experience romantic sexual love. Oops, we forgot that aromantic and asexual people exist. But basically, the implication that all love is the same is something that simply does not apply to a lot of aromantic and asexual people who may differentiate between attraction or may not relate to certain sentiments or experiences of love that those who are alloromantic or allosexual do. And we don't all need to experience love to be super rad humans. Our diverse experiences of love are beautiful, even when you fall into the realm of not experiencing it at all, or when you experience it to a lesser degree or more infrequently than other people you know. So I do think that saying love is love, while probably well-intentioned, can shove to the side a little bit the experiences of aromantic and asexual people, and all people within the queer community who object to amatonormative experiences of love. So for example, polyamorous people as well. Because a lot of the time, our queer, non-amatonormative love is different than cis-straight allo-amatonormative love. And that's not a bad thing, that's actually really cool. So when we emphasize the commonality, that bit about emphasizing diversity gets lost. Next, I want to talk about the implications of the phrase love is love for trans people and transness. So while I don't think the phrase love is inherently harmful to the trans community, I don't think saying that love is oops. I don't think that saying love is transphobic or anything at all. I mean, if you're trans, correct me if you think otherwise. I'm curious. But I think when we employ the phrase as a catch-all for the queer community and a catch-all for queerness, it erases trans experiences specifically, much like it does aromantic and asexual experiences. And I think that the message of love is love sort of ignores that despite trans experiences oftentimes involving, at least, different experiences of love, they more often revolve around one's body, mind, gender expression, transition, etc. So having a catchphrase, so to speak, for the queer community that is so inherently focused on implied sexuality permits us to forget that trans people are disproportionately affected by transphobia and queerphobia in general compared to other identity groups within the queer community. Like, saying love is love, especially for denoting romantic sexual love, just isn't relevant for trans people. Love is ultimately not super applicable to a lot of trans people, or sort of puts a focus on more likely gay and lesbian experiences within queerness. And thirdly, I just want to talk about the general connotation of the phrase and some nitpicky issues I have with it. So I think that love is love implies that we can't help our orientation, it's something that controls us. And I will explain, because like I said, when allies use it as a form of creating a common ground between themselves and queer people, to me, I've always gotten the vibe that it's we'll accept you because we know you didn't choose this, we know you wouldn't choose this, and we understand that there's no getting out of it for you. Sucks to be you, so I guess we'll get over it. That's kind of the vibe I've gotten for a really long time surrounding the rhetoric of love is love. When I think in reality, queerness isn't a tragedy, and while it can open a lot of people up to really just awful experiences because of queerphobia, it's not that our identities themselves are bad or a tragedy, or that we wouldn't choose them if we had the choice, you know? Again, I think that love is love centers cis straight allo love, using it as the pillar that all the other love that we're comparing it to revolves around. And I honestly think we give allies a bit of a free pass when it comes to love is love, because it allows them to feel accepting without challenging them to understand and uplift the diversity within the queer community. It allows them to accept that they are allies and supportive by merely likening themselves to queer people, in the sense that they experience attraction or romantic and sexual love, which is great, except for that's not the reality for a lot of queer people, myself included. And I think that when people feel comfortable accepting themselves as allies, when they can just think to themselves I understand gay people, they're just like me, it's just for a different gender, it allows for the dismissal or seeming justification of not trying to learn of people who do not experience love the same way, or do not experience the world the same way, namely trans and aspec people, as I addressed before. And this isn't to say that allies are terrible, you're doing a bad job. We love allies. I love you, allies. Particularly if this is the mindset you've been operating within for a long time, it's not a problem. But if you're listening to this now, this is just a little nudge or opportunity for you to consider it a little bit more. Does your acceptance of a queer person in your life, or queer people in general, focus more on your commonalities, or does it focus on actually understanding that queerness is expansive and you don't need to relate to everything, you know? So I would say that you can say love is love, that's fine, but not as a catch-all for the whole queer community, because we do not need to be simplified in order for cis straight allo people to understand us and to accept us. Overall, I think that the phrase love is love and related rhetoric simplifies a diverse demographics, experiences, and struggles to being an experience of what is typically assumed to be romantic sexual love, which simply isn't a reality. And in order to diverge from or escape this laneway of rhetoric, which I think narrows our viewpoints, especially if you're an ally, I would suggest adopting a point of view that focuses on diversity instead of commonality. Which is not to say that I think finding commonality between yourself and queer people is bad. I think that is fantastic. But I don't think that your acceptance of someone should hinge on whether you can relate to them or you inherently understand them, or that you are like them. So instead of saying love is love, I would encourage you to shift to thinking or saying things such as, diversity is beautiful. We need diversity. Sexual and gender diversity matters. And this one's my personal catchphrase, it's in my Instagram bio and whatnot. Diversity in community. because all of these ways of thinking focus on the diversity that is inherent to the queer community as opposed to simply the commonality we have with cis-straight ally people. And in particular, the phrase diversity and community, I think, focuses on both diversity and commonality, recognizing that the diversity exists within a community. And while I think when these aspects come together, that's pretty epic, if you lose the diversity bit, you lose a really big chunk of the fundamental existence of queerness. I would also encourage you that when discussing things like homo, trans, bi, pan, ace phobia, etc., all of the phobias, or really anything within the realm of sexual orientation, gender identity, and related social and biological topics, I would consider specifying your language to target the issue at hand. So instead of saying love, specify. Are you talking about sexuality, sexual orientation, romantic feelings, attraction, same-sex relationships? Like, what are you talking about? Be more specific. And if you're talking about a number of those things, you could say, I'm talking about romantic love, sexual love, and same-sex relationships that are both sexual and romantic. That's not a problem. You don't have to just glaze over all of them by saying love. And if you're talking about gender, try not to reduce transness to a matter of sexuality or love. Which isn't to say that we don't talk about trans love. Trans love is beautiful. But transness isn't inherently about love. And you don't need to shy away from specific language when talking about anything in this realm of stuff in favor of a more broad term, because that doesn't mean that you're being more inclusive necessarily. It might mean that you're actually leaving some people out, namely aromantics and asexuals and trans people, and a lot of other people who exist within the queer community. When the foundation of queerness is having different experiences of love, gender, sexuality, and body, attempting to confine us to our love equals your love as an ally or cis-straight allo person is kind of futile. We, as queer people, are expansive, and that's pretty cool if you ask me. I think that's all I have to say on the topic, so... Oh shit, I just spilled tea all over myself. Get a cup of tea from Daniel's Chai Bar if you want with our code. It'll be in the description, and you can go get yourself some yummy tea, and I don't know if you can find a mushroom cup that makes the tea experience way better, just saying. Otherwise, we'll see you next time in the space on the internet. Bye!